nation to full prosperity. We're going to go full prosperity and to build the greatest economy the world has ever seen, just as we had just a short time ago. We will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America healthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Great again. Great again.
Hey guys, thanks for joining us today. Welcome to the American Tribune Live. I am Todd Peterson, and folks, we're taking a victory lap today. I had to do it. I'm feeling good. The certification of Donald Trump's resounding election victory in November was certified. So here we are. We're just doing a victory lap. We have so many things to celebrate. And yeah, other things are going on in the world, but I'm feeling good today. I want you to feel good today. There is so much to look forward to. We are less than 2 weeks away from number 47. Donald Trump gets back in the White House. I guess this isn't so much a victory lap here. We are going to start with news today, though, and we're just going to jump around the horn. We've got stories to talk about. We got Greenland. We got Mike Johnson. I got some thoughts on his election last Friday to be Speaker of the House, endorsed by Donald Trump. A few holdouts. Some things were shaken out, but it did take place in the first round. We got some Kamala Harris videos from yesterday. The look on her face as she is certifying the election results, those are priceless. We've got some videos from Greenland. We got some Donald Trump commentary on Greenland, on Canada. Justin Trudeau resigned. I don't know if you caught that. I am connecting that directly to Donald Trump's victory. I don't think Trudeau goes anywhere if Kamala Harris wins the election. We got some Dem meltdowns. We got a little bit of everything today, folks. But Dems are throwing their hands up in defeat. Mark Zuckerberg just announced yesterday, this is the viral news of the last 24 hours, promising to lift censorship on Meta, on Instagram, on Facebook. They are getting rid of third-party fact checkers. Yes, fact checkers, regime propagandists. I don't know about you. We operate on a lot of platforms on Facebook. We have had pages nuked, demonetized. We've had content taken down. We have been fact-checked over the most ridiculous stuff. Zuckerberg, though, he's got Dana White on his board of directors coming up. He is donating money to the Trump Inauguration Fund, and now just coming out with an announcement saying, I'm going to make Facebook, I'm going to make Instagram, I'm going to make these Meta properties more free speech aligned. Look, and I'm not going to say he belongs in prison. It seems fairly obvious that he meddled in the 2020 election, but everybody did. But if Zuck's going to make good on this, if he's looking around at Elon Musk saying people are flocking to X because it's free speech, that's a source of news, and he wants to compete with that, great. If we can move forward and make Facebook a platform, Instagram, make it a viable platform for our voice, that's only going to help the conservative movement, the America First movement. There's going to be some opinions on what should happen to Zuckerberg. I'm here for it. I want to move forward. I want to get this country back on track. And if free speech on those platforms helps get that done, let's bring it on here. But I got to start with this stuff from today. This was just from yesterday. Folks, this makes me so angry. And like I said, I'm on a victory lap. I'm feeling high. Euphoria all around. Donald Trump is winning. So much winning since November, and he still isn't president, but things are happening every single day. I had to focus on this story because it is so insane, folks. Here's a screenshot that I took from Amy Klobuchar. I live in Minnesota. Amy Klobuchar is the senior U.S. senator from Minnesota. This is what she wrote yesterday over on X. I'm just going to read it. The lies are astounding. I got a Kamala Harris clip because she said the same thing when she was campaigning. Klobuchar writes, 4 years ago, the electoral vote certification was interrupted by a violent mob. Police officers were injured and killed on January 6th. Do you remember how many police officers died on January 6th? I'm going to fact check it right now. It was 0. They had Brian Sicknick to run. They said he was smashed in the head with a fire extinguisher. Turns out that was never true. They lied him in honor in the Capitol Rotunda, or lied him in state. I don't want to get fact checked here. One of the two. And they paraded his dead body around to be like, see, Donald Trump cited an insurrection, and it got police officers killed. The only time, remember, that they ever cared about police officers, you could be bashed in the head with a fire extinguisher during the George Floyd riots, and they would have been like, well, it was for justice. You know what? Those police officers, we got to defund them. They're upholding white supremacy, so smash a few on the head, and that's how we water the tree of liberty for these communists. But now, Brian Sicknick, now we like police officers in January 6th. Our democracy hung in the balance. I'm going to fact check this too. It didn't hang in the balance. You can't have 1,000 people go in the Capitol that are unarmed and threaten to overturn our entire constitutional republic. This is absolutely wild stuff. I knew we had to do our duty and complete the count. And in the early hours of January 7th, we did. Now, if you're watching the show live, you can see I captured the community note from X as well. And it very plainly states no officers were killed. And they are referencing Brian Sicknick in this case as well. The medical examiner found Sicknick died of natural causes, which means a disease alone causes death. She pushed the lie that police officers died on January 6th. This was debunked a month after the fact. The New York Times actually got around to editing quietly. They never promoted that they edited the article where they said, he got hit in the head with a fire extinguisher by some Trump supporter. Look how evil they are. Police officers died. It was an insurrection. We almost lost our democracy. That never happened. We know it didn't happen. Klobuchar knows it didn't happen. She's telling you anyways. As I tweeted out, I replied to Klobuchar. I called her a disgrace. She's an absolute disgrace. Shame on Minnesota voters for electing her again to the U.S. Senate. But it's not because they're ill-informed. It's not because they're stupid. It's because they're malevolent. There is only one explanation for a tweet like this, and that is because they despise you. They hate the truth. She has a mission to propagandize as many people as she can. A despicable tweet. They are not only lying about this, they're using Brian Sicknick. They're using other police officers that later, I'm trying to figure out the right words to use over on YouTube and Facebook right now. They ended their lives months later. I believe the count was like 4 or 5 police officers that were involved in January 6th eventually were dead, but not at the hands of Trump supporters. Pure malevolence right here. They are spreading a lie. They are brainwashing you, propagandizing you. They still want their sheep voters, their masked up, boosted sheep voters, to believe that Donald Trump cited an insurrection and got people killed. Nothing could be further from the truth. This is what we're up against. And the question I asked over on X is, this is obvious a lie. We know it's a lie. And if they're willing to lie about this, something so easily disproven, what else are they willing to lie to you about? I asked that question in another podcast. You should check it out on the American Freedom Live channel over on Rumble. I did a 2.5-hour series. I think it was just me, 2.5 hours, going on a roll, debunking all of the Trump hoaxes. And I asked the question over there, I'm asking it right now, if they're willing to lie to you about this, what else are they willing to lie to you about? How can you believe anything they say? My answer to that is that you absolutely cannot trust Democrats with anything, whatever position they take on climate, gun control, abortion, foreign wars, open borders. Every position, every talking point that they have is based on a lie, a provable lie, and half this country still voted for that. 48% of the country voted for Kamala Harris. They likely believe this still because they follow Harris on X, they follow Klobuchar, they get their news from MSNBC. There are Americans to this day that believe police officers were killed on January 6th. Just vile stuff, absolutely vile stuff. I think this is disqualifying. I think Amy Klobuchar deserves to be recalled. She deserves to lose her Senate seat. It won't happen because we've got Tim Walz. Remember Tim Walz, VP running mate for Kamala Harris? He's the governor here. So Klobuchar is not going anywhere, but this should be disqualifying to hold office. To spread a lie this egregious, there is no excuse for that. Pure evil. She does not care about you. She hates you. She hates the truth. She is all in for the Democrat establishment machine. But again, like I said, this echoes the same thing Kamala Harris campaigned on. I ran this clip in my Trump episode. I'm going to play it again right here because she says the exact same thing to a cheering audience. Yeah, they're cheering the fact that a police officer died apparently, but they spread this lie so readily, so easily, so frequently. And again, it is so provably false. No officers were killed at the hand of Trump supporters on January 6th. Why are we talking about this? Why is this even a talking point? Folks, it's because they hate you and they hate the truth. Bill Badger, thanks for watching us over on Facebook here. The media lies as bad as cops do. Yeah, and to be sure, this is not a defensive. Well, you're getting me off tangent here. You should never trust the police. You should never say anything to the police. I am an ardent law and order guy, strong supporter of the police. Doesn't mean you have to trust them. But the media lies way more than the police do, my friend Bill. Democrat politicians, the media, I can't think of anyone else that lies more. And Rick, thank you for fact checking some of this as well. As a reminder, Ashley Babbitt was the only person killed on January 6th, along with the woman in the tunnel that was beaten to death. I think 4 Trump supporters died that day. Ashley Babbitt was shot by Capitol Police Officer Michael Byrd. I believe the woman you're referencing, her name was Rosalind. There seems to be footage of her getting beaten with batons by police officers. No one utters her name. Shoot, I can't even remember her last name at this point. That's how egregious it is. 99% of the country has no idea that happened. Yeah, Melissa, I talked about Tim Walz, and then I'll get to the combo clip. Melissa, thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting. How is Tim Walz still governor? He ran for vice president. He should have stepped down. Yeah, so if you remember when Ron DeSantis ran for president, he actually had to pass a new law in Florida. You're not allowed to hold all those offices at the same time. Matt Gaetz resigned. I think he was looking at some other stuff as well. In Minnesota, you can be governor. You can run for vice president. I think that's fairly common throughout the country there. He shouldn't be governor for a lot of other reasons. The fact that he ran for vice president is the least that I'm concerned about. How about his tyranny over the last couple of years? How about his weaponization of this government? Democrats have a majority in our House and Senate in Minnesota. Tim Walz and his cronies in the Democrat Party have done absolutely horrendous things to the state. My property taxes went up like 15%. I think it was 14.9% this year. That is common throughout Minnesota. Tim Walz is objectively a horrible governor, but he got reelected. He got reelected, folks, in 2022. After everything he did during the pandemic, Minnesota voters said, thanks for your tyranny. I'm going to reelect you. Minnesota's a lost cause. We've got Walz as governor. We've got this clown, lunatic, deranged demon, Amy Klobuchar, as U.S. Senator. There's no hope. There's no hope for Minnesota. Rick, thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting. Klobuchar is a blatant liar. Yes, she's a liar. She's an awful person. Dorothy writes, yes, Tim should not be governor. Thanks for watching, Dorothy. Melissa adds, Harris only won where there was no ID. I've never fact-checked this. I'm going to reference this comment right here. I've seen the maps. I am 99% certain you are correct, Melissa. Melissa, I'm just not comfortable stating it, asserting it as fact over on some of our platforms, Facebook and YouTube. I don't want to get fact-checked. But I have seen maps where if you break down the electoral votes, all of the states that went blue do not have voter ID requirements. It's a head-scratcher for sure, to say the least. David writes, I agree, some media does lie all the time, but to suggest that all police officers lie is just wrong. Yeah, David, thanks for correcting my comment there. I'm going to go a step further and say pretty much all corporate media lies. They all lie. They all have an agenda. Fox, Newsmax. I'm not going to pick on my side necessarily, but corporate conservative media lies. MSNBC, CNN, I don't even think we have to talk about that. All they do is lie. Some police officers lie, yes, and there's a lot of good police officers out there. Again, I'm a law and order guy. We need the police. I want the police, so I'm not going after the police. But it doesn't mean I trust the police, because in the court of law, whenever I get pulled over or you get arrested, anything you say is used against you. They're not your friend when you come up against the justice system. So I want the police. I like having police. Most police are good people. I have friends that are police in my own circle, my own network. But if I ever ran up against them on the roads, I'm staying quiet. Melissa writes, I agree. Rick adds, some of the people died in the crowd for heart attacks and other medical problems. Yeah, there were 2 people that had heart attacks. I think someone was bumped up on, I don't want to say an illicit substance, but I think some substances contributed to it. I think they just got overexcited that day. So they did have heart attacks unrelated to police engagement. Again, Ashley Babbitt and Rosalind Boyd, I think is her name. There we go, Rosalind Boyd. But she died, it looked like, at the hands of the police. But no one talks about it. No one looked into that. We still need accountability for J6. And remember, the CR that Mike Johnson at least scrapped, he reduced it down to 118 pages from the original 1,500 pages. Democrats tried to make sure that Trump couldn't investigate J6, investigate the J6 committee. They actually wrote into that original 1,500-page CR bill that was put out on December 20th, right before Christmas break, magically, that Trump wouldn't be able to do that. So they know exactly what they're hiding. Thankfully, that got removed when Mike Johnson reduced it down to 118 pages. Yeah, I believe I remember right. There was a woman that was throwing down the steps to an elderly lady. Yeah, Rick, I'm not positive on that. Again, I'm on platforms that I need to be careful about. But 2 for sure that I can think of, Babbitt and Rosalind, definitely looks like, well, Babbitt without a doubt. But Rosalind Boyle, certainly the video suggests that she was beaten by police. Some people like being abused. Yeah, Democrat voters like to be abused. They like to follow Amy Klobuchar and Kamala Harris and believe that they're getting told the truth. This is so easily debunked, folks. Folks, thanks for all the comments here. I wanted to give everybody some screen time. If you're taking the time to watch the show, comment on the show. I wanted to give you the shout out, pop up your comments there on the chat. Let us know as the show continues. Keep dropping those comments. And I do want to remind everybody, you are all commenting on Facebook. You're all watching on Facebook. I love it. Thanks for joining us. You're watching on one of the American Tribune platforms. We have 15 pages over on Facebook, many of them with 1 million followers. But if you want to check out the show, see some clips that you never see on Facebook, I did a show on Fauci. I did a show last week that I streamed only on our Rumble channel because I didn't want to get nitpicked by Facebook people over there and YouTube people over there. So check out our Rumble channel, the American Tribune Live. I'm streaming live right there as well right now too. So join us over on Rumble. We got a growing community over there. Again, the American Tribune Live. But thanks for watching on Facebook. Thanks for commenting. So to dovetail the Klobuchar tweet, here is Kamala Harris saying the exact same thing. Kamala Harris campaigned on J6, officers died, easily disproven. It's not because she's dumb, which she is. It's not because she was drunk, which she might have been. It's simply because they are evil. They are demons.
140 law enforcement officers were injured that day. Law enforcement officers were killed that day.
Law enforcement officers were killed on January 6th. And this is a powerful reminder as well, folks. I am celebrating. I'll play the clip at the end of the show of Mark Zuckerberg saying we're going to open up free speech over on Facebook, over on Instagram, on the Meta properties. We're going to get rid of our third-party fact checkers. We're going to go back to the community note. We're going to move to, rather, a community note style that X employs. Kamala Harris could post this video on her Facebook. She could post this video on her Instagram. Her followers could repeat the lie that police officers were killed on January 6th. They never got fact-checked. They never got censored. They never got shadow banned. They never got demonetized. If you're a Democrat, you can say whatever you want on these platforms and nothing happens to you. My podcast partner and I, Jason Robertson, when we do Freedom from the Press on Fridays, we did a whole episode where we would go around to different Facebook properties from Democrat groups. Occupy Democrats was a big one. We went to the Kamala Harris Twitter page and Facebook page. Everything they write is provably false. Everything they say about Donald Trump, provably false. Every way they frame up Donald Trump's positions, provably false. She had this video up there. Police officers died on January 6th. Not once was she fact-checked or demonetized. You can spread these lies as a Democrat and nothing happens to you. Meanwhile, over here on our properties at the American Tribune, I can get a video of Joe Biden slipping or losing his train of thought, and they're like, that's a cheap fake. We're going to demonetize you for that video. It's not even close what happens here, but they can get away with this, and apparently their voters believe it. And I expect politicians to lie. I expect the media to lie. I am not a child. I just go into that expecting them to do that. I'm always disappointed that regular American voters believe this. Like everyone in that rally crowd, are they going like, Kamala Harris is telling me a lie right now. Brian Sicknick wasn't killed by Trump supporters. Absolutely not. They're in there thinking, yeah, Trump's a bad guy. His supporters are bad guys. Joe Biden, he was right when he called them the single greatest domestic terror threat because those Trump supporters killed police officers. But you know they believe that. So shame on the Democrat voters for being so uninformed, so brainwashed. Yes, the politicians are evil. They are possessed by demons for spreading this lie. But let's just expect them to lie, and then let's do better as voters, as citizens, to cut through all the BS and get to the truth. But 48% of the country still voted for this woman. So we had to start with this today, folks. Had to cover the J6 lies. Yes, they certified the election. There were no shenanigans. How could they? What did they have left? So they certified the election. I got some clips of Kamala Harris certifying here in just a second. We'll segue to that. But my goodness, so much to celebrate. But just a reminder that all these Americans out there still believe this. People are still going, oh, Trump bad. Trump's going to do horrible things for this country. His supporters got police officers killed. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how many hours I do on debunking all the Trump hoaxes. Doesn't matter how many times I show clips like this. We've got to wake people up. If you like the content on this podcast, if you like the channel that we have on Rumble, again, the American Tribune Live with Todd Peterson, share it with your Democrat voting family members, friends, neighbors, and say, can you watch this 5-second Kamala Harris clip? She claims that police officers died on January 6th. I know that's false. You know that's false. And again, if they're willing to lie to you about this, what else are they willing to lie to you about? But speaking of January 6th, speaking of certifying the election, here's Kamala Harris. She released a video yesterday talking about how she was going to do her constitutional duty. The one time I think Kamala Harris has ever referenced doing her constitutional duty, can you point to anything in the last 4 years that Biden and Harris have done that respects Constitution, respects limited government, respects your freedoms, respects you as an individual to make choices that are going to be good for you as an individual? Absolutely not. But here she is now taking the high ground. I think this was the playbook from Democrats. Democrats used yesterday as an opportunity to remind everyone we're the good guys. We're above all the political fighting. We're above insurrections. We are certifying the election because we respect and honor the will of the people. Again, you can just point to the last 4 years and be like, not a lot of respect and honoring of the will of the people. So their administration's policies speak a lot louder than their words. All they had to do was close the border. That would have been a start. All they had to do was find peace in Eastern Europe, find peace in the Middle East, stop sending our tax dollars as foreign aid to all these countries around the world. All they had to do was lock up criminals. All they had to do was not go after Donald Trump in election interference, political weaponization of the government in these sham court cases. There was so much they could have done, but they didn't do anything. But here's Kamala Harris now saying, yes, we respect the Constitution.
Peaceful transfer of power is one of the most fundamental principles of American democracy. As much as any other principle, it is what distinguishes our system of government from monarchy or tyranny. Today at the United States Capitol, I will perform my constitutional duty as Vice President of the United States to certify the results of the 2024 election. This duty is a sacred obligation, one I will uphold, guided by love of country, loyalty to our Constitution, and my unwavering faith in the American people.
I haven't seen the whole clip because I cannot stomach Kamala Harris. I'm done listening to her. I hope she disappears from the political scene forever. I know there's reports of her running for governor in California. Honestly, good luck, California. You get what you vote for over there. But as far as being in the national spotlight, good riddance to Kamala Harris in 2 weeks. But let's go back to that last sentence. I have unwavering faith in the American people. So much unwavering faith that I'm going to lie to them about police officers getting killed on January 6th. They don't deserve the truth. They deserve whatever narrative I create for them. Folks, I just can't. Don't listen to them. Yeah, they say this. Yes, it's all scripted. It sounds fine. It's not true. Just look at their actions. Look at how they behave towards you. Look at their policies. She doesn't believe a word that she is saying. But let's get to certifying. This was some gold right here. Take a listen as she has to certify Donald Trump's election victory. She herself, the losing candidate in this race, because she was the vice president, has to certify the election results. There's so much delicious irony to this.
The votes for President of the United States are as follows. Donald J. Trump of the state of Florida has received 312 votes. Kamala D. Harris.
We got to zoom in of that later here. I got this clip coming back, but Mike Johnson's face while this is happening, he's just a child in a candy shop. He loves this moment so much. And Kamala Harris, when we zoom in, her face does it all.
Kamala D. Harris of the state of California has received 226 votes. The whole number of electors appointed to vote for Vice President of the United States is 538. Within that whole number, a majority is 270. The votes for Vice President of the United States are as follows.
All right, so then she does the same thing with J.D. Vance and Tim Walz, and the House cheers because they should, and then Democrats in the House, yeah, you got 212 votes, we'll stand up and clap for you. She did not want to be there. Her video, she never smiled. This video, she never smiled. The joy is gone. But take a look at this clip here. We zoomed in a little bit. Watch both of the facial expressions of Harris and Johnson. It's so good. Just bask in it, folks. This is why we're doing the victory lap today. So many things to feel good about. I love watching these Democrats be miserable. I love watching Republicans take a victory lap. I have some thoughts on Mike Johnson in a second, so we'll show a clip of him here smiling and getting all giddy. Got some clips of him talking about the Trump agenda now that he's been elected House Speaker. I got some comments on the House Speaker. Let's take a listen to this really fast.
President of the United States are as follows. Donald J. Trump of the state of Florida has received 312
Mike
votes.
Johnson's over there
Kamala
just
D. Harris.
barely containing his excitement. And then Kamala Harris pursing her lips like Donald Trump. I think they get triggered just saying his name at this point. She's like, I don't want to be here. One more time. So I think, yeah, we'll go one more time. Watch Kamala Harris's reaction.
Has received 312 votes. Kamala D. Harris.
I love it so much. Folks, we should all love this so much. It is so good to watch these people lose. And you know what? Good for Mike Johnson. I think he had a lot more emotions in there. He's trying to be, respectful of the situation, show some decorum, but he cannot contain his excitement. And why not? Mike Johnson was hand selected by Donald Trump to be the Speaker of the House. And if for no other reason that there was no alternative, for all of the noise out there about Mike Johnson, here are my thoughts. Number one, we shouldn't trust him. His speakership under Joe Biden was pathetic. It was horrible. Democrats got their wish list done every single time, whether it was spending, debt limit increases, wherever money was going overseas, whatever policies were getting enacted. He always gave it to Democrats without attaching any strings. Why couldn't we say, look, you can have this money for Project X and we're going to build a border wall? Or we're going to do this. I'll give you your debt limit increase so long as we, stop giving funds to illegals, or so long as we cut money off to foreign nations in their conflicts. He never did anything. What happened to prosecuting or investigating, at the very least, Fauci? What happened to investigating January 6th? We got some more tapes. What came of that? Mike Johnson, let me know in the comments below, folks. Did I miss anything from Mike Johnson's speakership under Joe Biden where anything got done for the American people? I mean, other than the fact that Republicans had a majority in the House that it could at least stop the Biden administration's agenda. Remember, for the first 2 years of Joe Biden, the Democrats had the House under Pelosi. They had the Senate under Chuck Schumer. Obviously had the executive branch. So Johnson and Republicans at least were an impediment to some other things that the Biden administration might have tried. But in terms of actually materially benefiting the American people, I can't think of a single thing Mike Johnson did. Where were the impeachment hearings? I understand that nobody ever would have been impeached because it would be dead in the Senate. But you could at least do that. You could at least investigate everybody. They held some nice hearings. We got some nice sound bites, but nothing ever happened. So Mike Johnson's role as Speaker under the Biden administration, there is no love lost for me. Honestly, it could have been anybody. As long as you have a Republican majority in the House, at least you stop the Biden administration. So to be clear, I did not care for Mike Johnson as Speaker. That being said, I saw no alternative for this election that took place last Friday where the House elected a new Speaker. Donald Trump supported Mike Johnson. That's good enough for me. I voted for Donald Trump, which means I trust Trump's decision-making when it comes to all sorts of issues, including who he wants to support as House Speaker. And again, there was no alternative. All this noise was getting made up about everything I just said. Oh, we can't trust Johnson. He's a snake. He's a sellout. He's a coward. He does whatever Democrats want. He gives them their wish list. All of that can be true. And at the same time, what other options were there? If Johnson is truly spineless, then Trump can make him bend just as easily as the Democrats did. And now Mike Johnson can say, well, the American people supported Donald Trump. The American people supported the America First movement. He doesn't have to run away from that. Anything that he does now legislatively, he knows that the American people are in support of that. And that is very good news for a coward. He'll just put his finger up in the wind and say, all right, well, the American people want this. When I do something to take heat from the New York Times or MSNBC, it doesn't matter because the American people, Donald Trump, they support this mission as well. And I like to think that these guys want to get reelected. So why would you go against your voters in Louisiana in this case? He wants to be Speaker. He wants to be a politician. He wants all the cozy benefits that come with that. He wants to be Trump's little wingman there hanging onto his shirt when he meets all these important people and makes important decisions. So I actually think Mike Johnson will do an okay job as Speaker. All he has to do to be successful is not get in the way. Donald Trump can accomplish most of the things we voted on for, closing the border, ending wars overseas. He can do that without Mike Johnson. Yes, you need to pass some legislation. Yeah, you got to take care of some bills. I understand that part of it. But a lot of the stuff that we want Trump to do, he can go right around the House anyway. So it doesn't really matter who's in that role. And my whole thing was, I don't want to have a headache 2 weeks before Trump gets into office. I don't want a prolonged speaker battle. I don't want to have to figure out who's going to be a marginally better speaker because the other names that got floated out around there, yeah, do you want Thomas Massie as speaker? Fantastic. Never going to happen. So Massie nominates Tom Emmer. Some other lunatic nominated Byron Donalds, who, again, would be a great speaker, but he doesn't have the coalition. He doesn't have the support for that. It never would have happened. All you're going to do is drag the battle out. And before you call me a hypocrite and saying, I like that we did 15 rounds for Kevin McCarthy, I like that Matt Gaetz threw out Kevin McCarthy, I liked all of that, but the timing of it was different. Right now, I didn't want a headache. I didn't want a battle. I didn't want infighting when we should be celebrating so much about Donald Trump's incoming administration. Just get a speaker, doesn't matter who it is, get that out of the way, and then focus on the Trump agenda. Mike Johnson had the votes. Donald Trump recognized that. I imagine Trump and Johnson had a lot of conversations behind the scenes about, here's what I need you to do. And Johnson, like anyone else, is going to follow through on that. What's more, because Donald Trump supported Mike Johnson, I think Mike Johnson realizes he owes his political standing to Donald Trump. He'll be more willing to work with him. If you had some outsider in there, let's say Tom Emmer, because his name got floated around, there are these never Trumpers that still think Ron DeSantis should have been the presidential candidate. All of us are idiots for supporting Donald Trump. They said Donald Trump would never win in a general. We needed someone like Ron DeSantis that didn't have all the baggage. These people are still hung up on the fact that Ron DeSantis, for some reason, tried to go up against Donald Trump, would have been a better presidential candidate. So because Trump supported Johnson, they reflexively said, I don't like it. So they were like, Tom Emmer would be a better choice. And maybe, even if I can see that maybe Emmer would have been better, which I don't agree with, Emmer has his own problems. He's already on the House leadership team, so how is that different than Mike Johnson? What you're getting in return isn't worth it. So even if Mike Johnson is N and Tom Emmer is N+1, so marginally better, is it worth having a prolonged speaker battle and getting all this in the way of Donald Trump's administration, his incoming administration? Like, no, it's absolutely not worth it. And Mike Johnson can always be vacated. The House Speaker role can always be vacated. You just need a couple people to say, I don't trust your leadership anymore. Let's get rid of you. Fine, do that. I don't care. I just don't want you to do it right now. And I don't know why this was such a controversial take. But again, it wasn't coming from good faith. It was coming from only Rons, never Trumpers, fake conservatives. They said, Mike Johnson's not good enough. And yep, I already laid out the scenario. I didn't like Johnson either as speaker, but I also recognize the political opportunity. And as Grok told me when I went over on X and said, tell me about my political beliefs, even Grok said, you know what, Todd, you're very practical. You don't have to like Johnson to recognize that he should have been speaker because everything else wasn't worth it at the time. All right, let's go through some comments here. Rick writes over on Facebook, their expressions were priceless. Mike Johnson was grinning from ear to ear. Yeah, you know what? Well-deserved Mike Johnson. Mike Johnson took a lot of heat. I think he's going to do a lot of good for Donald Trump. I think he's the right person for the job. I might be eating these words in a couple of weeks. But again, I'm not exactly coming out in strong defense of Mike Johnson. I'm just looking at the political realities. He didn't do well under Biden. He was supported by Donald Trump. I didn't want to have a prolonged House Speaker battle. And when we got some clips here, he's saying the right things. What else do you want at this point? And if he doesn't do his job, get rid of him. That's where I'm at, folks. Let me know where I'm wrong. Melissa writes, I believe Trump has his foot on his neck. I think so. Melissa, thanks for your comment. That's exactly what I'm saying. I think Mike Johnson realizes that he owes everything right now to Donald Trump. He owes his speaker role. He owes his political future. He owes everything to Donald Trump. And the American people have proven we don't have time for rhinos anymore. We will primary you. We will blast you over on X. We will expose everything about you. Mike Johnson is savvy enough to recognize the moment he is in. I think he will do Trump's bidding. Exactly correct. Rick writes, Mike needs to learn the art of the deal. Yeah, I think Mike is fast waking up to the new realities he finds himself in. If he wants to keep that speaker role, he needs to support Donald Trump's America First agenda. Dennis writes, Gilded, Trump derangement syndrome doesn't just disappear. Something's up. So I don't know if that's a comment to Mike Johnson. I don't know if Mike Johnson ever had TDS. Mike Johnson's been in the Trump orbit for a long time. He was one of the lawyers, I'll say. He was part of his legal defense team during the impeachment. Johnson's been loyal to Donald Trump. Donald Trump obviously loyal to Mike Johnson. It could be a personal thing. It could be a professional thing. It could just be a survival thing. Honestly, the motivations for their arrangement doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is that Mike Johnson follows through. But good point, Dennis. Yeah, TDS doesn't just disappear. That being said, J.D. Vance was outspoken against Trump in 2016. Some of these other guys were outspoken in 2016, but the political winds have changed. The political climate has changed. RFK, Tulsi Gabbard, these people certainly weren't voting for Trump in 2016, but they recognize the movement. They recognize the climate has changed. You can't be a Democrat in 2024. You're holding absolutely ridiculous positions. So things have changed, and I'm willing to give people the benefit of the doubt. And honestly, I don't care if Johnson's TDS. I don't care if RFK's TDS. These guys each have one specific role to play. RFK, go into HHS and get us some information. Johnson, be a speaker and don't be a roadblock to Donald Trump's agenda. That's it. All right, James, I'm reading your comment out loud here. I actually see some buzzwords that I'm not going to read out loud. Thank you for watching. Thanks for commenting, though. I can't say some of that stuff on our platform. Folks, if you engage with Diana, don't. I'm going to block her right now and delete her comment. All right, and this always takes just a second here. These people aren't your friend. If they say, hey, you have a nice profile pic, they're lying to you. They just want to scam you. Rick writes, though, you're right. I'm in full agreement. I'm glad they went in and put him as Speaker of the House. If he doesn't do his job, be removed just like Kevin McCarthy. Was the main deal now is to move forward with the new administration, get this country straightened out. Yep, that's all my point is. I don't know why this was so controversial. It didn't matter who the House Speaker was. We just needed a House Speaker, preferably a House Speaker that could be controlled by the Trump administration. Do what we say. The American people voted for me. We want this legislation passed. Get it done. That's all I wanted. It could have been Johnson. It could have been Emmer. It could have been Jim Jordan. It could have been whoever. Whoever will support the America First movement is good enough for me. And again, you can always get rid of them. You can always get rid of them. Rick, you are on fire today. You might have to be a guest host on my show here. All these senators and congressmen have to stop holding personal grudges. They were elected by the people to take care of business for the... Rick, I appreciate your comments there. Absolutely. You work for us. You don't work for one another here. All right, guys, we got to get rid of Alice as well. And then we're going to jump into Mike Johnson's latest comments. I'm deleting one more comment here. We're a live show, so we got to get rid of this stuff. Here is Mike Johnson. I got 3 clips of Mike Johnson speaking about different things he's going to do. But he says, folks, buckle up. We're going to get to work on day one. Expect to work long hours. And good. You guys make $180,000 a year. Try to give yourself a 40% pay raise. You should be working hard because you're only in D.C. for like 180 days a year.
Work to be done in a very short amount of time, because remember, we want to deliver this to the president's desk by hopefully the end of April at the latest. And so we've got a lot of work to do between now and then, and there'll be long days and long nights here. But we've already told all the House Republicans and Senate Republicans, be ready to work overtime, and inform your spouses now. This is going to be a tough season, but it'll be worth it in the end for all of us.
All right, again, Snake Johnson, these are words. We haven't seen actions yet. But this is promising, folks. This is Mike Johnson saying exactly what I want him to say. I want him to say we're going to work hard to push the Trump agenda. This is all I wanted out of a House Speaker. Just get stuff done, or at least get out of the way and let Donald Trump do his thing. He couldn't have positioned himself better in this state. This is exactly what he should be saying. This is the sentiment he should be having. It remains to be seen if he follows through, but folks, as of right now, I have no indication otherwise to think he won't do this. Otherwise, he knows his political career is done. And if his motivations for doing the Trump agenda are simply to survive in Washington, D.C., fine. I don't care what his personal motivations are. I care what his actions are. I care what the outcomes are for us, the American people. Whatever reasons Mike Johnson has to do the Trump agenda, so be it. Bring it on.
Today was a certification, and Vice President Kamala Harris was standing or seated next to you. Must have been tough for her. Did she discuss it at all with you?
We didn't really talk about the election. That would have been a bit awkward. But you said that she did it with grace, and I think she did. And, it was a tough thing to do. I mean, this was a landslide for President Trump, and we're so excited about that. And we got to certify that today and make history. We made history in a number of ways, Greta. This is the first time since 1988 that no Democrat in the House objected to the certification of a Republican victory for president. I think that's because we did exactly what President Trump said that we should do, and that is make it too big to rig. And we did. And this is a mandate from the American people, and we are very much ready to get to.
I got to say, folks, so I cut some clips here. Mike Johnson obviously appears longer on Greta's show over there on Newsmax. He sounds different to me. This is a man speaking with much more confidence, ebullience. He just seems genuinely happier. I imagine serving as Speaker under Joe Biden, taking heat from the American people, having to present the CR bill, 1,500 pages long that no one had time to read and expected to vote on it, going through the House Speaker battle. There was a lot on this dude's minds, and I don't feel bad for him. Like, you signed up for this, and you deserve most of it. But you just see him presenting differently now. It's like he's walking a little bit lighter on his feet. That is behind him. Now he has the backing of not just Donald Trump, but his congressional caucus, of the Republican caucus in the House. I mean, all of that is out of the way. Now he gets to focus on the Trump agenda. And it's not even so much on him. Now it's Donald Trump taking the lead. Mike Johnson can simply follow the lead of Donald Trump. So he does seem just a little more at ease. And again, I don't care that it was hard for him. You signed up for that. You're a corrupt politician. You should have a hard time. But if it makes America a better place now, with all that behind us, Mike Johnson in the House, advancing the Trump agenda, we're in a great spot right now. Absolutely great spot right now. And then, of course, he mentioned that Democrats didn't pull any shenanigans. I don't know what shenanigans they really could have pulled. I predicted that one or two might go out there just to make a headline, just to get some campaign fundraising in there. Hey, look at me. I talked tough on the certification. It passed very quietly yesterday. No objections. Kamala Harris, to her credit, at least went up there and said the right things and did her thing, got in, got out. Very quiet certification day. And again, they use that to promote their own agenda, saying like, oh, look at us. We're above all this nonsense. We respect the will of the voter. We respect the Constitution. It'd be the first time ever. But then they got their little sound bites and they got to play the moral high ground, which is all a sham. And there is no moral high ground in that case, but they did that. But it wouldn't be a show on January 6th certification without Representative Jasmine Crockett. One day I will do a standalone Jasmine Crockett show. This woman is atrocious. She has to insert race into everything. That would be the entire show, just different clips of her going after white people. This is her reaction to that video that we played, though, earlier. Kamala Harris said, I have a constitutional duty and it's sacred. Now that it's done, now that's how it's done. Madam Vice President did her black job and facilitated the peaceful transfer of power without fomenting an insurrection. This is what a patriot looks like. I don't even know if I have the energy to comment on this, but she did her black job. Last time I checked, being vice president was a constitutional job. I was told that they liked the Constitution and it was sacred what they did. But she had to make sure that because Kamala Harris is half black, and as Donald Trump pointed out, you were an Indian before and you turned black in like 2020. But now she did her black job by facilitating the peaceful transfer of power. Again, they had no other options. What were they going to do? Object to all of that? And then what? So she did the only job she could do. She did her vice presidential job. Jasmine Crockett could have written that, but she had to insert race because that's all this woman can do. She did her black job and facilitated the peaceful transfer of power. And again, they had to stick it in there. And Kamala Harris did it without fomenting an insurrection. As we get more information about what happened January 6th, we now know that the FBI had at least, I think the count was 28 confidential human sources. FBI has still not confirmed whether their own agents were in the ground that day. That is all speculation, but the FBI did admit, amazing how all the information comes out in Biden's last month. It turns out we had photographs of him meeting with Hunter's Chinese business associates. Oh, it turns out Joe Biden's senility was actually an issue for his administration. Oh, it turns out the FBI did know that people were on the ground that day. All in the last month. All in the last month of Joe Biden's administration. Now we're allowed to talk about all that stuff. But yeah, Donald Trump cited an insurrection. Here's the crazy thing about this narrative, folks. For 4 years, oh, we got Alice Doko in Spanish over there. Buen día, mi nombre es Alice. Adios, Alice. Hasta nunca. Now, for 4 years, we were told that he's an insurrectionist. He cited an insurrection. During the build-up to the election, we were told that he was the F word. He was the mustachioed man 2.0. All of his supporters were domestic terrorists. I have a clip on my X of Joe Biden in 4 separate incidents repeating the line that we're all domestic terrorists, the greatest domestic terror threat in America. Do you guys remember his, was it 2022 Philadelphia speech when he actually looked like the mustachioed man with the backdrop in Philadelphia with the black and the red? And he said, MAGAs, this and that. If all that were true, then why didn't you stop Donald Trump from being president? These things can't both be true, because if there was actually the F-word threat, the H-man threat with the mustache, if there was actually the domestic terror threat from all of us, if all of that were true, why wouldn't you cheat? Why wouldn't you prevent him from taking office? Isn't it amazing that since the election ended in November, despite all of these super serious allegations floating around, pretty serious stuff, I don't want that kind of guy in office, if that's all true. And if Democrats believed it, why didn't they act on it? Instead, he won the election. They certified the election. He's going to be inaugurated, and then he's just going to preside according to the Constitution and the will of the American voters that elected him. Like, this just doesn't work, folks. If he cited an insurrection, if he's going to be a dictator, and they cut the dictator in day one clips, then why are you letting him take office? You would be morally obligated to stop him from taking power if you were so concerned with the threat. Liz Cheney, I forget the timeline, it was a week or two before the election, I think, was over on MSNBC, because of course she was, and she was saying this might be the last election we ever have. Donald Trump's going to run for an illegal third term. Donald Trump will never allow elections to take place again. Liz Cheney said that. And yet here we are just like, oh, okay, well, the voters certified 312 votes, like no big deal. Like, you can't have it both ways. But again, 48% of the country voted for her. Again, people follow Amy Klobuchar. People follow Jasmine Crockett. They believe all these lies that they told. They'll still believe. They will hold these competing thoughts in their heads as Democrat voters, Democrat supporters. He's all of this. Donald Trump is all of this, the scariest stuff imaginable. And Democrats just gave him the White House. So which one is it? Which one is it? All right, we got to block one more comment here. And again, I got a ton of Facebook engagement today. Folks, thanks for watching over on Facebook. I always say this. Thank you for tuning in. You have so many options out there, so many different sources to get content from, news from, commentary from. The comments seem to suggest that my commentary is at least in line with your commentary. I don't think I'm saying anything outrageous. I don't think I'm saying anything overly partisan. Just pointing out the facts here. These Democrats are insane. These Democrats are lying to you. Mike Johnson was the best option we were going to get. Donald Trump's agenda is amazing. Like, these are not outrageously out of line analyses here. Okay, we got one more comment to block. But if you're enjoying what you see and you're watching on Facebook, check out Rumble. You can get an app. It's just like YouTube. You can have it on your desktop, rumble.com. Look for the American Tribune Live with Todd Peterson. I was celebrating the fact we just crossed over 100 followers. It pales in comparison. We have a second Rumble channel. If you just go to the American Tribune, again, we're all part of the American Tribune property. So we have a main Rumble channel, the American Tribune, thousands of followers over there. I do a live podcast every Friday on that channel. Every day I upload 5, 10, 12 videos with commentary. So you can listen to me every day if you really want to. And then we started a second channel just to keep that other channel clean. I wanted a dedicated podcast channel. So that's the American Tribune Live with Todd Peterson. That's where the show is streaming right now. You can find all the past shows over that channel as well. But I encourage you to take a look. We love our Facebook audience. We got by far the biggest following over on Facebook, but want to direct you over to Rumble as well. Again, it's the American Tribune Live with Todd Peterson. All right, and that's going to bring us to, we had to talk about this. So much winning, folks. Greenland. Donald Trump has been saying for some time now, he's going to make Greenland great again. He's going to make Greenland a part of the United States. So this was from his post this was yesterday. He says, I'm hearing that the people of Greenland are MAGA. My son, Don Jr., and various representatives will be traveling there to visit some of the most magnificent areas and sites. Greenland is an incredible place, and the people will benefit tremendously if and when it becomes part of the nation. I love that part. When. Not if, but when. We will protect it, cherish it from a very vicious outside world. Make Greenland great again. All right, this is not the show for tinfoil, for conspiracy. I guess my question is, not knowing a lot about Greenland, I doubt most of us do, but why Greenland? Is it for the natural resources? I think so. Does China want Greenland? Do other nations want Greenland? Is it for the resources? Is it for the locations of potential military bases? We already have bases on Greenland in some case. So my question is, why Greenland? I'm all for it. Make it part of America. Bring it on in. If it is simply for resource extraction, it makes sense to me. But I think I'm missing something. I think most people are missing the why in this case. But bring it on. You know what? Make Canada, make Greenland, make Mexico. Bring it all in under the American fold. We can make all those places better. And so we got a clip here of Donald Trump's plane, his envoy. It's not Donald Trump, but got the Trump plane. You got Don Jr., Eric, Charlie Kirk I saw on the flight, various representatives he talked about. Here they are landing in Greenland, ready to make Greenland great again. So there they go. There goes the Trump envoy to Greenland. Don't know who they're meeting with. Don't know what they're looking at. Scouting it out maybe. But sure, let's bring on Greenland, folks, because why not? If Donald Trump sees a reason to do it, I voted for Trump. I trust Trump. Sounds good to me. Yeah, Carmen writes all the above. Resources, military bases, stopping other people from getting there first, all the above. Why not, Carmen? Let's do it. So at the same time that he's talking about Greenland, folks, I don't know if you caught this, but Justin Trudeau resigned as Prime Minister of Canada yesterday. The Canadian people need to be liberated. Canada, if you thought it was bad in America, Canada has it far worse. You could look at government overreach, government tyranny, the immigration situation, taxation, housing prices. It's all bad up there. Justin Trudeau was cheerleading efforts to tell you that the Indian boarding schools had mass graves. He was right there pushing that lie. Turns out none of that was true. Everything about Canada is upside down. So we got to help Canada out. Well, again, over on Truth Social, Donald Trump wrote, we'll go back to it. I got one more clip of Greenland as it turns out, but we'll go to Canada first here. Many people in Canada love being the 51st state. The United States can no longer suffer the massive trade deficits and subsidies that Canada needs to stay afloat. Justin Trudeau knew this and resigned. If Canada merged with the U.S., there would be no tariffs, taxes would go way down, and there would be totally secure from the threat of Russian and Chinese ships that are constantly surrounding them. Together, what a great nation it would be. I'm all for this. I'm all for liberation. My one holdout with making Canada a state is the voting pattern of Canadians. They always have left-leaning governments. Stephen Harper, I think, was the last conservative in Canada, but I think a conservative in Canada is basically like a center-left American voter. I don't know if I want all those electoral votes helping Democrats. Now, maybe the Canadian people, if Donald Trump liberated them and said, welcome aboard, you are a 51st state, maybe they would kind of be like what Democrats wanted to do with illegals. Let's naturalize all you tens of millions of dudes. You'll always vote Democrat. There'll be no more thing as a swing state. Maybe Canada would function the same way, and that Donald Trump and the America First movement gave us our freedom back. They lowered our taxes. They lowered the prices of everything. They keep us safe militarily. I'll reward this behavior with a vote for other America First candidates. Maybe that would happen. And if that were the case, bring it on. But man, you go to like Quebec and you're just like, I don't want anything to do with this. I do not want French-speaking Quebec to be part of America. So maybe we can carve out the big cities. Tell you what, you keep Ottawa, you keep Quebec. Vancouver, I've been there. It's a beautiful city, but I don't trust Vancouver voters either. But let's take the rest of Canada. I'm all for it. Make Canada great again. And again, the trade deficit situation, the tariff situation that Donald Trump was talking about, everyone out there is like, tariffs are going to hurt the American people. Guess what? The current economic reality is that we're already getting hurt. We subsidize Canada, we subsidize Mexico, we subsidize China because we bring in cheaper goods and materials and resources that could otherwise be produced in America, extracted in America. So yes, something has to be done. And Justin Trudeau, rather than confront the Trump administration, was just like, I'm out of here. The political landscape has changed. Donald Trump is actually talking tough and holding me accountable. My own voters despise me. I just got to get out of here. So Blackface Trudeau peaced out. Here's his short speech.
So last night over dinner, I told my kids about the decision that I'm sharing with you today. I intend to resign as party leader, as prime minister, after the party selects its next leader through a robust, nationwide, competitive process. Last night, I asked the president of the Liberal Party to begin that process. This country deserves a real choice in the next election, and it has become clear to me that if I'm having to fight internal battles, I cannot be the best option in that election.
Yeah, he got that part right. Carmen writes, Trump broke Trudeau. Absolutely. I said at the start of the show, this doesn't happen if Kamala Harris wins the election, because then Trudeau and Harris can all be, chummy communists together. He didn't want to sit down with Donald Trump. He got humiliated when he flew down to Mar-a-Lago. Remember, that's when Donald Trump first floated the idea of making Canada a state. Trudeau flies down to Mar-a-Lago, has to kiss the ring. And Trump, right, with Trudeau standing there, is just like, maybe we'll just make Canada a 51st state. Trudeau got thoroughly embarrassed, called out by Donald Trump. He can't go toe-to-toe with the man, so he, like the coward he is, just fled from the scene. He didn't want to deal with Trump, and I love his misery, folks. Bask in the misery. I thought he was going to start crying at some point. I think he was on the verge of tears. You can kind of read his face. It's cold outside, so he's a little red, but I think there were some tears coming out eventually. He didn't want to do this. He thinks he's so important. He's such a good leader that it's a crime that he has to step down. It doesn't hurt him. It hurts the Canadian people. I truly think Trudeau feels that way, but I'm here for the misery. All these people should be miserable and afraid of what comes next. So Canada's election, I think the betting markets, I think polls suggest that Pierre Poilievre, I'm going to pronounce this guy's name wrong, Pierre Poilievre, he seems like the right mold. I think it's the best Canada's going to do. This guy's awesome when he deals with reporters, so that's already a victory for me. He's got the same Trump approach to media, just saying like, no, you guys are awful and you lie. From a governance standpoint, certainly better than Trudeau. So hopefully Canada figures it out. Hopefully, again, if Pierre Poilievre, I'm not good with French, I'm not good with the names. You can Google him, Pierre P something or other. But things are happening in Canada. I got to go back to Greenland. I forgot I had this clip here. This was one of those man on the street, so to speak. So we got a reporter in some dude's house, and he's from Greenland. I'm going to be honest. I didn't know they spoke English in Greenland. This is how ignorant I am of certain situations. I thought they were a Dutch country. Is it Denmark? Danish? So I don't know. It makes sense that they speak Danish, but I guess everyone in Europe speaks English already too. But here he is. He's saying, Donald Trump, come make us a state.
If you could tell Trump anything, what would it be?
Buy us.
Buy Greenland?
Buy Greenland.
Why do you want Trump to buy Greenland?
Because we don't want to be colonized by Danish government anymore. We get ripped every year about our minerals from Greenland. We are the richest nation in the world, and we don't get to use it. Denmark's using us too much.
Do you like America?
I love America, but people are too fat over there.
So like,
I feel like the best word was inaudible. Here's this dude up in Greenland saying like, yeah, bring it on. What's the Danish government done for us? What would the Chinese government do for us? Yeah, Donald Trump is awesome. The world loves Donald Trump. And I have to say this, I don't care about respect from world leaders. I don't care about world respect of America. Donald Trump serves the American people. I live in America. I want this country great. The rest of your opinions around the world, I do not care about. So when you got these talking heads on CNN and MSNBC and Joe Biden lecturing us on, oh no, the world's not going to respect us anymore, like, I don't care. That being said, the world loves Donald Trump. The world loves an America with a strong leader. So they're completely backwards on their take anyways. And again, nothing new here. The same people that tell you officers died on January 6th are going to tell you that the world doesn't respect Donald Trump. Fact check false. The world absolutely respects Donald Trump because he's a strong leader. We didn't have the invasion of Eastern Europe under Donald Trump. We had a summit with North Korea's leader, and we've never heard anything about them ever since. The world absolutely respects Donald Trump. And even though this is anecdotal, this is one guy, I would guess there are plenty of Greenlanders, people in Greenland that would love to see Donald Trump rescue them from whatever nonsense they're living under right now. Plenty of Canadians would love to be part of the American experiment. People around the world love this country. They love Donald Trump because they see that, I would guess most people live in tyranny and corruption and just horrible governments. They would love to have a Donald Trump figure. Hungary loves Viktor Orban. Argentina loves Javier Milei. None of these people are perfect, but they represent strength and they represent a love of their citizens. How much more can you ask for? I'm a nation state. I have a nationalist leader. He's going to look after me first. He's not going to be a fool or corrupt the way that these other guys are. They all want a Donald Trump. They aspire to have a Donald Trump in their own executive branch. So even though I said I don't care about world opinion, which I don't, the fact remains that world opinion of Donald Trump is so much better than Joe Biden. Barack Obama will always talk about his apology tour in Muslim countries. How did that work out? These people don't respect weak leadership. They don't respect apologies. They respect leaders like Donald Trump. So number one, I don't care about it. But number two, the lies that they say are simply not true. People love this country. People love Donald Trump. They love what is happening. They can see that their lives around the world are going to get better and safer with Donald Trump as president. Holy smokes, friends. We got to block a few more Facebook users here. Don't talk to Henry. I got to delete Henry's comments there. Henry, I can't even say thank you for watching because you're just a bot or a troll. So we're going to delete Henry's comments here. And we are coming up on an hour, folks. This has been a fast hour. I don't know about you, but man, we have so much to cover. I think we got one more story I wanted to get into. Let me delete some of these comments from Henry. Henry is not your friend. All right, we got one more. I got one more video clip, folks. This was hilarious. I thought this was Saturday Night Live. Speaking of rescuing Canada, this was Canada's response. So we have Trudeau resigning. We have Donald Trump joking, maybe half serious about making Canada the 51st state. And in response to that, You've got Canadian Karen here saying, oh, you're going to take us? Well, we're going to take you. It is so laughably absurd, but take a listen to Canadian Karen right here talking about how she's going to take over some of the United States.
We got a deal for you. You think we want to be the 51st state? Nah, but maybe California would like to be the 11th province. How about it? California, Oregon, Washington, you've got geography in common with us. And not only that, we've already got a carbon trading system between California and Quebec. We've got some strong alliances on our west coast from British Columbia. There's been a lot of academic papers on the idea of Cascadia. So California, Governor Newsom, and Washington State, Jay Inslee, and newly elected Governor of Oregon, Tina Kotek. How about it? Want to put a referendum to your citizens? Because this is what you deal. Have we got a deal for you? This is what you get. Free health care. Universal free health care. No more one-year-olds who suddenly fall off the Medicaid list and their parents are in the news because they're trying to do a GoFundMe so they can get their daughter to a doctor. Universal free health care. And guess what? Those gun laws that your Congress is too afraid to pass because of the national gun lobby, we already got our strict gun laws.
Folks, how much time do we have to go down the list of this video? But there you go. That is the leftist Canadian response right now. They actually think, I think this woman is serious. I don't know her name. I don't care. She is just replaceable with however many other communists they have up there. She actually thinks that this is going to be tit for tat with the United States. These people live in a different universe. With the sign of a pen, Donald Trump could take over Canada on January 21st. This woman's pipe dream of getting Oregon, Washington, and California to join Canada will never happen. Will never happen. I'd be fine with it. I would be absolutely fine with it. But they think this is reality. They think that this is an appropriate response to Trudeau's resignation and Trump's calling for Canada to be the 51st state. And then at the very end, you get a glimpse of these just moronic views that they hold. She's touting their healthcare system. Do you want to go down that path? Canada's healthcare, where you have wait times for months, where you never get treatment. The politicians have their own private sector healthcare. Private healthcare still exists in Canada if you can afford it, because if you can afford it, you don't go to the public health service. Do we need to talk about how universal socialized healthcare is just awful for every reason? Who you attract to the profession, the cost of doing all of that, the abuse of the system, the wait times. The free market wins in every case, but this woman thinks that because it's free that it's somehow better. We'll have to do another episode of socialized healthcare, but absolutely ridiculous. And then because we're controlled by the gun lobby, fact check false, we are devout in our belief of the Second Amendment, where we have seen time and again throughout history, a government that disarms its population does awful things to that population. We have a culture of freedom and independence, and we have a culture of self-defense. How about that, lady? But absolutely wild clip right there. She could not be more wrong about any of it. Any of it. She is completely wrong. But that is Canada's response. That's what they are resorting to at this point. That's all they have left. That's all they have left there. But sure, tout your socialized healthcare, tout your gun safety. I don't know about you. I still see stories up there in Canada with all their newfound Canadians that don't look ethnically Canadian but are considered Canadian. They still get away with a lot using vehicles, knives, other weapons of harm. So it's not exactly keeping the Canadian people safe, I would say. Bad guys, if they intend to do harm, will find a way to do harm. But yeah, sure, the gun control. You have gun control there. Justin Trudeau, remember, made it illegal to buy a handgun. Let me fact check myself there because I'm not sure for some of these social media companies. I think that was the law. I think he banned handguns in Canada, and now everybody is safe. Everybody is safe up in Canada. But that's where they're at. That's what Canada's been reduced to. I can't believe people vote for this. You know, this lady, Kamala Harris, guys, what are you thinking? What is going on? Tune into the American June Live with Todd Peterson. I will absolve you. I will abuse you of all these ridiculous notions that you have about what government should do, is able to do. Yikes. Just yikes all around, folks. But I had to play that clip there because apparently it's real. This was not a skit. This was not parody. This Canadian Karen actually believes this, as absurd as it is. All right. With that, though, I was scrolling through the folder. I think we played all the clips. I think we showed all the screenshots I wanted to. And we were crossing the hour mark. So I think that's going to do it for us today. I think we're on week 2 of head cold over here. You can probably hear it in my voice still. It is what it is. It's winter in Minnesota. 2 littles in daycare. You think you're finally getting better, then boom, something else hits you. So we're going to top it off today at the hour. When I feel a little better, we'll keep going for the 90 minutes or the 2 hours because those are fantastic to do. It's so much fun. But with that being said, folks, I want to thank you again for tuning in. Like I said before, you have so many other options out there. I appreciate you chose this show, spent a little time on this channel, had to listen to what we had to say. So I thank you for tuning in. All of our Facebook comments, loved the comments today. The chat box was on fire. If you're over on Facebook, again, I'm going to encourage you to head over to Rumble, download the app on your phone. You can view it in your desktop browser. It's over at Rumble. You can find us at the American Tribune Live with Todd Peterson. I do live shows every Tuesday and Thursday, 9:30 a.m. Central. Again, Tuesday and Thursday live shows, 9:30 a.m. Central at the American Tribune Live with Todd Peterson. But folks, with that, have a happy Tuesday. 13 days until Donald Trump is sworn in as the 47th president of the United States. I cannot wait. We'll see you again on Thursday.
Starting on day one, we'll implement the rapid series of bold reforms to restore our nation to full prosperity. We're going to go full prosperity and to build the greatest economy the world has ever seen, just as we had just a short time ago. We will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America healthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Great again. Great again.